Hello, year six. How's everyone doing? This is Mr. Fadi again speaking for your geography for the lesson for this week. Let's start. So, as per usual, I'll ask you to just revise, and we can go through the previous lesson. So here are a few questions based on the last lesson, which was about sand dunes. So here are a few easy questions that we went through together. How are sand dunes formed? Why are sand dunes important to us? What is a blowout? Last but not least is what is marram grass? Okay, that's for the last lesson. Let's start today's lesson. Topic for today would be buildings on the coast. Okay, so in some places, waves erode cliffs and other coastal features so quickly that it can put the lives of people at risk and make buildings unsafe to use. Okay, so cliffs made of soil or soft rocks, such as chalk and clay, can erode very quickly. Year six, I'll ask you to read this part very carefully because this is going to be very important for the questions on your homework. So cliffs made of soil or soft rocks, such as chalk and clay, can erode very quickly. The eastern coast of England is made of very soft rocks. As you can see, I put the word soft in bold characters just so you can focus on it directly. And in places, erosion is occurring rapidly. Okay, so that's for the eastern part. In the western coasts of the British Isles, they are made of hard rocks, all right, such as granite, carboniferous, limestone, and hard sandstones, and they erode much more slowly. So now you can easily tell the difference between the east coast of England and the western coast. So in the eastern coast, it's made of very soft rocks, and the erosion happens very rapidly. Okay, in the western part, the erosion happens much more slowly, and they're made up of harder rocks. Okay, I hope that part was clear. Now we have coastal erosion. This is a picture of an example of coastal erosion. So coastal erosion is the loss or the displacement of land or the long-term removal of sediment and rocks along the coastline due to the action of waves, currents, tides, wind-driven water, waterborne ice, or other impacts of storms. Let's keep it simple. Let's just say coastal erosion is the loss or displacement of land or long-term removal of sediment and rocks along the coastline. Okay? So that's for coastal erosion. This picture can be found on your books on page 36, okay? And it shows that these cliffs on the Californian coast in the United States are made of soft rock. So houses along this coast quite often fall onto the beach as the cliffs erode, okay? You can get a closer look at it on page 36 of your books. Now we have Dunwich, Suffolk, which is a small village on the eastern coast of England. We're going to read about it right now. Okay. Dunwich is a small village in Suffolk on the eastern coast of England, and today it consists of a few houses and other buildings. But in the past, Dunwich was a large and prosperous port at the mouth of the River Blythe. Okay. So what a port means is basically the places, for example, you have Port Sudan here. It's a place where all the ships come into place to dispose of their goods or their trades or any sort of heavy trading or importing that has been coming from overseas. So the local people kept erosion at bay by piling up brushwood weighted with stones at the foot of the cliffs. The picture on your right is a picture is an, of it shows a graphic cartoon of how Dunwich was like in the 13th century. Also on page 36 of your books. Let's learn some more interesting facts about Dunwich. So, about 1,000 years ago, it had 9 churches and 5,000 inhabitants. Wow. And in 1326, that's a very, very long time ago, a storm swept away 3 of the town's churches and 400 houses. Wow. And about 1 million tons of sand and shingle piled up across the mouth of the harbor, cutting off from the sea and forcing the River Blythe to take a new course to the north of Dunwich. Okay? So, year six, I would like you to go through these facts again because you're going to have some questions about this on your homework. Okay? Now we have land reclamation, which is on page 37 of your books. So people sometimes reclaim land that was once covered by the sea. In the Netherlands, large areas of farmland were once under the sea. The Dutch people cut off sections of the delta of the river Rhine from the sea using walls of brick and stone called dikes. Okay? They then used pumps to lift the water into canals. Canals are basically man-made rivers. The fields reclaimed from the sea are called polders. Okay, so there's a few words here that you could go through the definitions again once you read the paragraph. However, in terms of land reclamation, the definition in simpler terms basically means taking back the land that was once covered by sea. Okay, so land reclamation is taking back the land that was once covered by sea. Now we have Palm Jumeirah. I'm sure many of you guys have been to Dubai and you definitely seen this whether on TV or magazines or newspapers. It's a very, very popular place. Let's read about it. So, Palm Jumeirah is the world's largest man-made island. It stretches into the Arabian Gulf in the shape of a palm tree, okay, which is why it's called Palm Jumeirah. It consists of a trunk and a crown with 16 fronds. Surrounding it is a curve of rock that forms an 11-kilometer breakwater, which basically protects it from any sort of waves that could potentially damage it. Okay? So the island's area is equal to about 800 football pitches, and it was built on sand dredged from the bottom of the Arabian Gulf and rock from local quarries. Very, very impressive. Year six, you guys could read these stats again. So we know that Palm Jumeirah is the world's largest man-made island, and basically it is surrounded by a curve of rock that forms an 11-kilometer breakwater, which protects it from any sort of waves that could damage it. And an interesting fact is that the area of the island itself is equal or the equivalent of almost around 800 football pitches. So that's for Palm Jumeirah. For your homework year six, I would like you to answer the page 36 and 37 on your workbooks. Okay? You could also read the pages again to understand the topic even more in depth. And you could also go through this lesson one or a few times just to make sure that you completely understand it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson and I hope it wasn't that difficult. And I hope you have a great weekend. Goodbye.